Okay. So in the earlier classes, we have discussed about the overall process of photosynthesis, wherein we can see that photosynthesis occurs in two stages. The first stage is light reaction or light dependent reaction, followed by dark reaction or light independent reaction. So in earlier class, we also have discussed in detail about this light reaction or light dependent reaction. So this reaction is directly dependent upon the solar energy. And you know where does it take place? It takes place on the membrane of atom white. And this reaction leads to trapping of solar energy and convert it into chemical, that is ATP and NADPH. That is why this reaction is also called as photochemical reaction. So this we have already studied. Wherein you can see the water is absorbed from the soil, trapping the solar energy, and the final products are ATP, NADPH, and oxygen. And this oxygen is utilized for the respiration purpose of the cell, and when it is released out into the atmosphere, all the organism use it for respiration. Now, these two chemicals, where are these two chemicals used? That is ATP and NADPH. So we shall look at these two chemicals are used during the dark reaction of photosynthesis. Again, the dark reaction. So dark reaction doesn't mean that it occurs in dark. It is just to make a differentiate between light reaction, dark reaction is given. It is also called as light independent reaction, but again it is not completely independent. This reaction depends upon the solar energy indirectly. They are directly dependent upon the product of light reaction or light dependent reaction, that is ATP and NADPH. So let's just look at the overall picture of this. This dark reaction, it occurs in stroma. It occurs in stroma, and in this stroma, all the enzymes required for the chemical reaction is present, and the plant absorbs or it can trap carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through the stomata. Stomata, as you know, these are the pores present on the leaves. And utilizing these two chemicals, convert or you can say reduce this carbon dioxide into a carbohydrate, that is glucose. So in today's class, let us focus on this dark reaction. Our focus of our today's lesson is on dark reaction. So this dark reaction or light independent reaction leads to the formation of glucose, and it was first explained by Melvin Calvin using a C14, that is radioactive carbon, to trace the formation of glucose in water, or you can say aquatic algae. So this reaction, since it was explained by Calvin, it is also called as Calvin cycle. Okay, now let us see, as discussed here, dark reaction takes place in the stroma of chloroplast. And we know that these chloroplasts are present in the mesophyll tissues of leaves. Okay, now this dark reaction, it occurs in 3 steps. It occurs in 3 steps. Let us see one by one. First one, we know that, let us just show the leaf. So if you take a cross section of leaf at the lower surface of in most of the plant, the lower surface, that is lower epidermis, there are pores which is guarded by guard cell, and these pores are called as stomata, and this stomata is very important for the exchange of gas, especially that is intake of carbon dioxide. And inside this there are various mesophyll cells which we have already discussed, and these mesophyll cells, we have 2 types, palisade and spongy parenchyma. And all these mesophyll cells contain a green pigment containing organelle called as chloroplast, and inside the chloroplast, you can take one chloroplast out, and there is a thalloid membrane where the migration took place. Okay, so it is in the stroma. It is in the stroma where the migration takes place. So, stroma of a chloroplast of a mesophyll cell. So, this migration in mesophyll cell takes place through three steps. The first one is carboxylation. So, steps in Mendelian cycle. So, the first one is carboxylation. So, carboxylation is nothing but it is the fixation of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So, the plant must accept carbon dioxide. Now, who will accept? Of course, the green part of the plant, and the specific side is in the leaf, and in the leaf that is the chloroplast in the mesophyll. Okay, so carboxylation, that is fixation of carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is available in the atmosphere and it gets into the plant through the stomata. Now there should be an acceptor. So the primary acceptor of carbon dioxide is RuBB. That is ribulose bisphosphate. So this is the primary acceptor of ribulose bisphosphate. Is the primary acceptor of carbon dioxide, and ribulose bisphosphate is an organic compound containing 5 carbon. It contains 5 carbon. And 2-phosphate. So ribulose bisphosphate, and the fixation is catalyzed by an enzyme Rubisco. It is catalyzed by an enzyme Rubisco. The full form of Rubisco is ribulose bisphosphate carboxylase oxygenase. So I just write here this. Ribulose bisphosphate carboxylase oxygenase. So again, you can just focus here, carboxylase and oxygenase. So this is an enzyme which can fix both carbon dioxide and oxygen depending upon the situation. So right now we are going to talk about the fixation of carbon dioxide. So that means the Rubisco here acts as carboxylase. So carbon dioxide is fixed by RuBB with the help of this enzyme, and the product. Can you guess the product? How many carbon will be there in the product? Here carbon dioxide, we have 1 carbon, and here there are 5 carbon. So what will be the product here? The product here will contain how many carbon? Okay, you might think it is 6, but actually the first stable integrated product formed is a 3-carbon compound called as phosphoglyceric acid. And this is a 3-carbon compound phosphoglyceric acid or phosphoglycerate. So here we have 1 carbon, there are 5 carbons, so 1 plus 5, 6, and but the product formed here is 3-carbon compound. That means there should be 2 times PGA. So this is the very first step of Calvin cycle where the carbon dioxide is fixed and the first stable product formed is PGA, phosphoglyceric acid. And since the first stable compound formed during this reaction has 3 carbon, we call it as C3 cycle also, or C3 pathway. Okay, so this is one thing. Now next is, once we get PGA, second step is reduction. Here, reduction of PGA to G3P, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, takes place. So there is a reduction of PGA to G3P, and by utilizing NADPH and ATP. So these two are utilized during the reduction process. So again, let us try to show you the cycle here. Let's say there is group BP which has 5 carbon here, and this group BP accepts carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, leading to formation of PGA, phosphoglyceric acid. Again here 2 times PGA, and this PGA will utilize the energy and reduce itself. So what we get is NADPH. The proton or the hydrogen from NADPH is utilized. So we get NADP, and then we also utilize ATP to form another type of sugar, which again has a 3-carbon compound, and this is a glyceride form. So glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Right, 3-phosphate is formed. So the very first step we call it as carboxylation, and next this step we call it as reduction. And then glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate again is a 3-carbon compound. It's another form of PGA. Now this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, once it is formed, they are used of course to regenerate group BP if the cycle has to continue. So the third step is regeneration of group BP, that is the acceptor of carbon dioxide. So here these are the 3 steps. First step is carboxylation or carbon dioxide fixation. Second one is reduction, that is reduction of PGA to G3P. G3P is again a type of sugar having 3 carbon, and then regeneration of group BP, that is the third step here. So here again the same thing we can write here. So the third step is regeneration of the acceptor of carbon dioxide. So regeneration of group BP. And this regeneration of group BP again occurs in the presence of, or you can say by utilizing ATP. ATP is formed. ATP is utilized, and Okay, so these are the 3 steps in Calvin cycle or Secret cycle. First one is carboxylation. So fixation of carbon dioxide with the help of an enzyme called as Rubisco, and this results in the formation of PGA, which is a 3-carbon compound. So it has a 3 carbon and a phosphate, and there are 2 molecules of it. And each of the PGA, so from here onwards we have to multiply everything with 2. Each of the PGA undergo reduction to form bisaldehyde 3-phosphate, and this bisaldehyde 3-phosphate formation is of course with the utilization of energy. So ATP is utilized here, NADPH is also utilized here, and this bisaldehyde 3-phosphate must again undergo change to form the acceptor of carbon dioxide, so that the cycle can continue and plant can continue to trap carbon dioxide to synthesize glucose. Okay, now here again let us just count the number of carbon. RuBP has 5 carbon, and here carbon dioxide one molecule, so only 1 carbon, and PGA is a 3-carbon compound. It's a 3-carbon compound. 3-carbon compound, and here again it's a 3-carbon compound, and back to here RuBP is a 5-carbon compound. So how is it possible to get 5-carbon compound back from here, and at the same time this G3P, okay, this will also lead to the formation of glucose, which has 6 carbon. So this is one of the main product or the result of photosynthesis. Okay, so how is it possible, you may ask? In order to synthesize glucose, it must the Calvin cycle must occur 6 times. So, and they usually occur simultaneously. So when there are 6 Calvin cycle occurring, there are 6 acceptor of carbon dioxide, that is 6 RuBP, fixing 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, resulting in the formation of, so 1 carbon dioxide fixation by RuBP, we know that there are 2 PGA, so 2 into 6, it will be 12 PGA, and this 12 PGA undergoes reduction by utilizing NADPH and ATP, resulting in the formation of, initially it was 12 G3P, that is bisaldehyde 3-phosphate. Now 6 cycles are here, so it becomes 6 2 so 12. So there are 12 G3P, and from this 12 G3P, 2 molecules of G3P, that is bisaldehyde 3-phosphate, withdraws from the cycle and are utilized in the synthesis of glucose. Now we are left with 10 molecules of RuBP, 10 molecules of G3P. And this 10 molecules of G3P, by utilizing the energy, that is ATP, regenerates 6 molecules of RuBP, which is available to continue the cycle of Calvin cycle. So here in this Stark reaction or Calvin cycle, you can find that there is intake of carbon dioxide and utilization of these energy forms, that is ATP, NADPH, and again ATP is utilized, and finally results in the synthesis of glucose, which is a 6-carbon compound. So in this cycle, we utilize the product of nitration, that is NADPH and ATP. Well, now let us just calculate how much of ATP and NADPH is utilized. Here, we know that again here there are 12. Okay, let me just write it in a simple way. To fix 1 carbon dioxide, we need when one carbon dioxide is fixed, we get 2 PGA, and both the PGA undergo reduction, and in the process NADPH and ATP is utilized. So 2 molecule of NADPH and 2 molecule of ATP here. So 2 NADPH for reduction. During the reduction process, 2 NADPH and 2 ATP are utilized here, and then again come here. So G3P is used to regenerate group BP. So one group BP requires 1 ATP. So 1 ATP is utilized during the regeneration. So all in all, we can say to fix one carbon dioxide, you need 3 molecules of ATP and 2 molecules of NADPH. Okay, so this is for fixation of one carbon. And for the synthesis of glucose containing 6 carbon, so you can calculate like 6 into 3 ATP, that is 18 ATP, and 6 into 2 NADPH becomes 12 NADPH. So this is the amount of energy or the product of light vitamin reaction utilized in the dark reaction in the synthesis of glucose. So for the photosynthesis to occur, light reaction and dark reaction must occur. Now this dark reaction usually occurs in the plant like beans, okay, and it usually occurs in the plant growing in a high temperature, and also this dark reaction is catalyzed by, okay, especially the trapping or the fixation of carbon dioxide is catalyzed by an enzyme called as Rubisco. This enzyme Rubisco is very crucial in the fixation of carbon dioxide, and as already discussed, this Rubisco, it has both the function, that is to fix carbon dioxide as well as oxygen. So Rubisco may either act as carboxylase or act as oxygenase. But luckily, if the percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide, density of oxygen and carbon dioxide made the leaf, when it is almost similar, they prefer to act as carboxylase rather than oxygenase, thereby leading to synthesis of glucose. Now what will happen if the Rubisco choose to act as carboxylase? So if the Rubisco, instead of fixing carbon dioxide, and if it fixes oxygen, then it will lead to another process called as photorespiration, which many of the plants suffers. And photorespiration is a process which we consider it as a wasteful process, because it leads to the loss of carbon dioxide, loss of energy, that is ATP and NADPH, and there is no synthesis of glucose. So the disadvantage of such a plant undergoing C3 cycle is that they may suffer from a process of photorespiration. So next topic is, I'll just briefly explain about photorespiration. So this photorespiration is a wasteful process, and the condition required for it to occur is, the photosynthesis to occur is, the first one is high concentration of oxygen around Rubisco, and second one is high temperature. And these two conditions favors the process of photorespiration. Now let's see how it happens. So this primary acceptor of RuBP, containing 5 carbon. Instead of fixing carbon dioxide, here oxygen is fixed by Rubisco, leads to the formation of, again, so only 5 carbon are there, so it leads to the formation of PGA, phosphoglyceric acid, which is 3 carbon compound, and then phosphoglycolate, which is 2 carbon compound. And you know that to enter into the catalytic cycle, you need PGA, 3 carbon compound. So here we get only 1 molecule of PGA and another is that of phosphoglycolate, which is not used during the photosynthesis. And here again, another important thing you see is, okay, the details is not listening. It leads to the release of this process of photorespiration, leads to the release of carbon dioxide, utilization of ATP and NADPH, but no synthesis of glucose. So here, if you look at these points, release of carbon dioxide, utilization of ATP occurs in respiration. So this process is occurring here in the plant in the presence of solar energy. We call it as photorespiration. Okay, so this is called as photorespiration. So this release of carbon dioxide and utilization of ATP and NADPH, but no synthesis of glucose. Okay, so this process taking place in plant in the presence of sunlight, we call it as photorespiration, and here the photorespiration is considered a wasteful product or process, sorry. Photorespiration is a wasteful process, and you know why it is here. So instead of fixing carbon dioxide to synthesize glucose, what it does is it releases the carbon dioxide which is already in the plant, and instead of again forming energy from glucose, the energy from already available in the plant is utilized. So this is a wasteful process. Now the plant must find an alternative way by which they can avoid this photorespiration. To avoid this photorespiration, plant have again various different plants like bamboo and maize plant and others. Okay, so what they do is they have undergone adaptation, wherein there is a physiological adaptation as well as morphological adaptation, so that they can avoid photorespiration. And such an adaptation is found in a group of plants, we call it as C4 plant. So my next topic is C4 pathway. Okay, my next topic is C4 pathway or Hatten-Slack pathway. So the plant usually which grows in tropical area, this suffers from a wasteful process called as photorespiration. So as to avoid that photorespiration process, the plant have undergone a chain, or you can say adaptation, wherein they minimize the process of photosynthesis. And one such adaptation you can find is a particular structure inside the leaf. And if you take a cross section of a leaf, you get a structure we call it as Kranz anatomy, and this Kranz anatomy are found in the group of plants which undergoes C4 pathway. So this looks like here. So in Kranz anatomy you have of course the leaf. If you take a cross section, you find the outer upper epidermis, lower epidermis, and then stomata, and in the middle of this we have mesophilic tissues. And these mesophilic tissues, as we have discussed, they contain chloroplasts where the photosynthesis takes place. And in earlier topic, we talked about C3 pathway, and C3 pathway occurs in the chloroplasts present in mesophilic tissues and mesophil cells. Now, in this Kranz anatomy, we have a special group of cells which surrounds this large, bigger sized cells called as bundle sheath cell, and this surrounds the xylem and phloem, that is vascular bundle. So this bundle sheath surrounds the vascular bundle, and this bundle sheath also contains chloroplast. So there are two sites where you can find the presence of chloroplast, mesophyll and bundle sheath. And because of the presence of such an anatomy, it gives advantage to the plant, where the plant suffers from photorespiration. So another one is again in higher temperature, since there is a presence of bundle sheath here, the photosynthesis process occurring here, it will be protected from high light intensity, and also the presence of various enzymes also helps in reducing the effect of photorespiration. So let us look at the pathway. Now usually what happens is this carbon dioxide is fixed during the dark reaction or biosynthetic pathway, and the acceptor is RuBP, and it is catalyzed by Rubisco. Here, and this usually happens in mesophyll cells in C3 plants. So here, if you look at C3 plants, the primary acceptor of the carbon dioxide is present in mesophyll cells. But here, in the case of C4 pathway, the primary acceptor of carbon dioxide is not RuBP. Okay, now let us look at the enlarged portion of this. Okay, now cross anatomy here, and try to understand the pathway first. So the atmospheric carbon dioxide entering into the mesophyll cells first, and in the mesophyll cells, of course, there is water present. So carbon dioxide reacts with water to form bicarbonate, and this bicarbonate, okay, it is a source of carbon here, are accepted by primary acceptor here. So in C4 pathway, the primary acceptor of carbon dioxide is phosphoenol pyruvate, or we can say phosphoenol pyruvate, which has 3 carbon in it. So the primary acceptor of carbon dioxide in C4 pathway or C4 plants is phosphoenol pyruvate present in mesophyll cells. Okay, now see here, one molecule of carbon dioxide accepted by phosphoenol pyruvate catalyzed by phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylase, or we can just write pectase. So here one carbon, another, here we have 3 carbon. It results in the first stable product, that is oxaloacetate. Oxaloacetic acid. So just write oxaloacetic acid. Oxaloacetic acid, related as OAA, and it is a 4-carbon compound. That is why the pathway follows is called as C4 pathway, and the detailed pathway was explained by Hatch and Slack, so we call it as Hatch and Slack pathway. And the plant which follows this C4 pathway are categorized under C4 plant. Again here, you have to know that even though it is a C4 pathway, Calvin cycle is the main biosynthetic reaction taking place for the synthesis of glucose. Okay, now coming back to this. So in the C4 pathway, the primary acceptor of carbon dioxide, which is trapped from the atmosphere, is phosphoenol pyruvate. Okay, and it is catalyzed by phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylase. Okay, so in this mesophyll tissue, root BB is absent, unlike that of C3 plant, whereas mesophyll contains rubisco, but in the case of mesophyll in C4 plant, rubisco is absent. So instead there is a packed case, and the acceptor, primary acceptor is phosphoenol pyruvate. And this results in the formation, or we can say this results in the fixation of this carbon and formation of this oxaloacetic acid, which is 4-carbon compound. Okay, this OAA, so carbon dioxide in the form of bicarbonate accepted by PEP forming OAA, and this OAA converts itself into malic acid. Malic acid is again a 4-carbon compound. Malic acid is again a 4-carbon compound. Or this OAA may also convert into aspartic acid, which again is a 4-carbon compound. So it can be converted to malic acid or aspartic acid. So whatever it is, the 4-carbon compound formed in mesophyll cell are transported into the bundle sheath. That is the towards the inner side of the leaf, towards the inner side of the leaf. So these are mesophills, these are also mesophills. So the first carbon dioxide is trapped in the mesophyll cells. Now this citric acid reaches the bundle sheath cell through a passage called as plasmodesmata in cell, and this it should be C4 acid. So this is C4 acid. So this C4 acid undergo a process of decarboxylation, wherein you get C3 acid and then a looser molecule of carbon dioxide. Now this carboxylation leads to the release of carbon dioxide here, and this carbon dioxide present in the bundle sheath enters into Calvin cycle or C3 pathway, which finally results in the production of glucose. So it is in the bundle sheath where C3 cycle takes place. That means it is in the bundle sheath where rubisco is present and root BB is present, and glucose synthesis also takes place here in the bundle sheath. Now what about this C3 acid? C3 acid is transported back into mesophyll cell, and this C3 acid is regenerated into PEP, that is phosphoenol pyruvate, so that again it can accept a carbon dioxide and continue this cycle. So in this pathway you find that there is Calvin cycle. In addition to this, there are some more steps which enable the plant to undergo photosynthesis in a more efficient way, and it is all possible because of the plant's anatomy. Okay, so in earlier class we learned that the plant may suffer from photorespiration, so that is the loss of carbon dioxide, and again there is no synthesis of glucose, but here you can see that the loss of carbon dioxide is reduced. How? Earlier, rubisco acts as oxygenase. Instead of fixing carbon dioxide, it fixes oxygen. But here, since the rubisco is present in the bundle sheath, the plant makes sure that there are more of carbon dioxide, so that this rubisco can act as carboxylase. Okay, so this is a pathway through which you can find that maximum amount of carbon dioxide is placed here, so that rubisco acts as carboxylase and carry out the Calvin cycle in the synthesis of glucose. Here, the production of the glucose will be higher as compared to the C3 plants. Okay, so here again let us look at here. So this is a pathway, and you can see that in this pathway there are two acceptors of carbon dioxide. First is the primary acceptor of carbon dioxide. The primary carbon dioxide acceptor present in the mesophyll cell here is present in the mesophyll cell here. Now second acceptor of carbon dioxide results from the decarboxylation of C4 acid. Another one is carbon dioxide acceptor in bundle sheath is root Pp. Okay, so because of this, the root Pp and the rubisco in the mesophyll, they are not exposed to higher percentage of oxygen, rather they are exposed to higher percentage of carbon dioxide. That is why they avoid photorespiration. So just by looking at this, you can see the advantage of C4 pathway as compared to C3 pathway. So we have been talking about the process of photosynthesis, and as discussed, photosynthesis is a multiple step reaction, and here is the summary of this photosynthesis, which involved light phase or light reaction phase and dark reaction phase, and this equation summarizes the process of photosynthesis. Here you can see this reaction here, carbon dioxide and water in the presence of solar energy trapped by these pigments releases or synthesize a glucose, which is sugar, and then release oxygen as a byproduct. Now, if you look at this equation, you can find various factors involved in this. So the first one you can see is carbon dioxide, next water, and then light and chlorophyll. So you can see in this equation itself, you can find 4 different factors involved in photosynthesis. Okay, so these factors will affect the rate of photosynthesis. When more than one factors are involved in any biochemical reaction, then law of limiting factor by Blackman comes into effect. So Blackman's law of limiting factor. So this states that in any biochemical reaction, when there are more than one factor, like this, okay, and the factor which is at its minimum level or minimum amount or minimum concentration will directly affect the rate of chemical reaction. So here the chemical reaction is photosynthesis. So according to this, when more than one factors acts on a particular type of reaction, the factor which is at its minimum value will affect the reaction. So here it is photosynthesis. Okay, so that is one thing. So I'll just elaborate. For example, here the factors like carbon dioxide defined, water is also there, light and chlorophyll. So these are the factors you can take out from this reaction. So let us suppose the amount of carbon dioxide and water and chlorophyll, of course, let us say these are at the optimum level, and light, let us say it's very less. So here in this factor, you can find that amount of light is at its minimum value. So this minimum value will affect the rate of photosynthesis. So if you increase the light here, then the rate of photosynthesis will increase. So maybe you can increase to 4, 5 and so on. Okay, again here, if you keep increasing up to a limit, the rate of photosynthesis will increase. Okay, got it. Now law of limiting factor. So when there are more than one factors affecting the rate of photosynthesis here, the one which is at the minimum value or the concentration will decide. It will decide the rate of photosynthesis. So the example given here is light. Likewise, otherwise we will give another example, like for example, light is at here and the water value is very less, let us say 2. Again here, the limiting factor is water. So if you increase the water concentration, if you pour water to the plant, then the rate of photosynthesis will increase. So that is Blackman's law of limiting factor. Well, now these are some of the factors we find, and there are many more factors which affect the rate of photosynthesis. So we will be talking in detail about the factors affecting rate of photosynthesis, and these factors are categorized into internal factor External factors and internal factors. So let us take some of the external factors from here, this equation. So the first one we find is carbon dioxide concentration. Second one is water. And third one we can find is light. And there is one more, temperature. So these are the four main external factors which affects the photosynthesis rate. Now talking about the internal factor here, you can just look here. One you can find is chlorophyll content, and other factors as you can see here. You know that exchange of gas, carbon dioxide enter into the leaf through a pore called as stomata. So that is distribution and number of stomata. Distribution and number of stomata, and then you can say number of leaves, age of the plant or leaves, and so on. Okay, so these are the various factors affecting the rate of photosynthesis. So let us talk about the external factor first in detail. Okay, so the first one is carbon dioxide concentration. So we know that carbon dioxide is one of the main raw materials during the photosynthesis, and the amount of carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere is only 0.23%, which is very less. Now, if you increase the concentration of carbon dioxide slightly, it will increase the rate of photosynthesis. But too much increase of carbon dioxide will lead to toxicity. Again, it will bring down or slow down the rate of photosynthesis. So, slight increase in carbon dioxide concentration increases the photosynthesis rate. But too much increase in carbon dioxide lead to toxicity, and then which will lead to slow down our photosynthesis rate. So even though carbon dioxide is important, but it should not be too much, because it will lead to toxicity and then it will slow down or it will reduce the rate of photosynthesis. Next, water. So we know that water is one of the important components during the, especially during the light reaction and also in dark. So this water is a source of electron during the electron transport chain during the light reaction. And then again, this water, which is present in all the cells, act as a medium for the enzymatic action. So in the absence of water, of course, no reaction can take place, and this water amount, it becomes very important. And if the water available for the plant is very less, the plant leaf may wilt and the stomata closes, and when the stomata closes, the exchange of gas will not be there, and thus the rate of photosynthesis will be less. So again here, increase in the water, we need to increase in the rate of photosynthesis, again of course up to a limit. Next is light. So light is a very important factor playing a role in photosynthesis. And when we talk about light, we talk about light in terms of its quality and light quality, light duration, and light intensity. So light quality refers to the different wavelength of visible light. Okay, so we know that different like the 7, that is different light with pure violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. Okay, so this visible spectrum of light, experiment has shown that the blue and the red light will lead to maximum rate of photosynthesis. So if the plant is provided with blue and red light, the rate of photosynthesis will be higher. Okay, next, duration of light. So usually what happens is different plant has needs a different duration of light, and usually it is, okay, for the proper photosynthesis maybe it is 10 to 12 hours. Next is intensity of light. When you increase the intensity of light, the rate of photosynthesis increase, but up to a limit. For example, here you can see in this graph, let's say photosynthesis rate here, and this is light intensity. Okay, so as you increase the light intensity, the rate of photosynthesis increase, but up to a limit. Okay, after which other factors become limiting factor. So as you increase the light intensity, photosynthesis rate also increases. If the intensity is too much, then it will lead to photooxidation and other factor will come into play, and then the rate cannot be affected much. Okay, so the fourth important external factor is temperature. So we know that photosynthesis is a multiple step chemical reaction, and which takes place of course in the living cells. So all the living cells reaction is catalyzed by enzyme, and the rate of activity of the enzyme depends upon the temperature. So if the temperature is too high, beyond which the enzyme can tolerate, or if the temperature is too low for the enzyme to act, then of course the rate will be less. So the temperature required for them is optimum. So the optimum temperature of each enzyme is different. Okay, so the too high temperature will again affect the photosynthesis adversely, and if the temperature is too low, it will freeze the enzyme activity. If the temperature is too low, it will freeze the enzyme, and then photosynthesis rate will slow down. If the temperature is too high, it will denature the enzyme, and then again it will affect the enzymatic action during the photosynthesis. So the temperature must be optimum temperature. But generally speaking, again here, the rate of photosynthesis increase with increase in temperature like this, but up to a limit. Okay, so these are the four important external factors which affects the rate of photosynthesis. Now let's look at some of the internal factors. For example, like this here, chlorophyll pigment. So we know that chlorophylls are the pigment, green pigment, which can trap the solar energy. Okay, so here, if the chlorophyll content is more, then of course you can expect more activity and more photosynthesis. Likewise, distribution of stomata. So whether the stomata are only at the lower surface of the leaf or on both the surface, it affects the exchange of gas. Likewise, there are stomata. More the stomata, more will be the exchange of gas. Next, leaf. Of course, leaf is the site where photosynthesis takes place. So more the number, more will be the photosynthesis. And next is age of the plant and leaf. So again here, this age acts as an important factor for the photosynthesis rate. Okay. So this is about the factors affecting the rate of photosynthesis. So once you know the factors, then you can adjust this factor so as to get a maximum yield from your plant, from your tree or whatever agricultural products. For the agricultural production, you can manipulate the requirement according to the